What is up, geeks and gamers? It's your boy Q
and QMG.
And we're back bringing you guys into the Qniverse, where we talk to you guys about everything geeky, gamey, and nerdy. And we are back. Lovely geeks and gamers. Last Sunday was Mother's Day. Shout out to all the beautiful mothers. So we took a break, but now we are back like we never left. And we got some good content to talk to you guys about, because a couple of our podcasts, we've talked to you geeks and gamers about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. Let's give those guys a round of applause.
Yep.
So, QMG, if you want to just give a round-off statement about both systems and let them know what's going on right now, and then we can get into what we're talking about today.
Okay. Well, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are, of course, the next man up in the...
What up, Mom? Appreciate you tuning in.
Are the next man's up, so to speak, about the next generations of consoles for Microsoft and Sony, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
They both are pushing the boundaries of how fast...
Oh, sorry.
Technical difficulties, y'all. Y'all know how we do it into the Qniverse. You know we have to get down.
Keep going.
But the PS5 and Xbox Series X will be pushing the boundaries of the way games are loaded, how fast and how vast the games are. No longer tab.
What up, Tab? Appreciate you tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. You didn't know there was going to be a new Xbox. It's basically what the new, like how there was the Xbox. And then the Xbox 360, and then the current one, the Xbox One. The next one is going to be called the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that's basically what it is. The PS5 and Xbox Series X are going to be pushing the fidelity of not the graphics, but how much environment is loaded up, how little downtime you actually have while playing the game. So let's say you're playing the newest Assassin's Creed, and there's a lot of sea traversal that has been implemented in the series since 2012. Now, instead of having to go to a loading screen to get to said boat to traverse the ocean, all of that will be done seamlessly with no stop gaps, presumably is what they're hoping for with this new current generation of consoles. Not to say that the graphical fidelity won't be upscaled, but it's kind of at the cap now where what is reasonable and what is actually desirable to have with said video game system. So that's mainly the gist of the PS5 and Xbox Series X so far. Things like backwards compatibility and pricing are
Appreciate you tuning in, boo.
Cam are still up in the air. So we'll see if that pans out. But other than that, that's what the future is looking like.
And that's leading into what we're going into today. Today we're just going to round out how we feel, our personal opinions on a couple topics as far as what do you think the price point will be, what do you think will be the better system for this console generation. Big Donald, appreciate you for tuning in. Will be the proper console for the best console of this generation, who will have the best games, and so on and so forth. So leading straight into it, and like I always say in the comments, like, subscribe, watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and let us know what you guys think will be the best console, the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. But going straight into it, let's go ahead and talk about what everybody wants to know. QMG, starting off, what do you think that price point is hitting at after all we've seen? We know about the specs, we know the peripherals as far as controllers so far. Where do you think the price point for both systems are going to sit?
I genuinely don't know what the price points
Skeet, what's up?
I genuinely don't know what the price points are going to be per se, simply because it is so up in the air, especially with the pandemic going on. You can't really tell what is going to be affordable for most people in the next 10 months or so. What is going to be their preferred? What is there going to be their preferred price, and how essential a new video game console is going to be with everything that's going on. Not to get too serious, but with the way that the current pandemic is, and how some beautiful individuals choose to handle it, and how it can set things back. we haven't hit the second wave of this. We're still in the first wave, and when the second wave hits, traditionally it's systematically worse than the first wave. So if that hits at the time of these consoles release, and jobs are still closed or going to be reclosed, it's going to affect the sales of these consoles, because people aren't going to be thinking about definitely not going to be thinking about $8,600 consoles, and probably won't be thinking about a traditionally priced $400 or even $500 price model. So personally, I'm not entirely sure, because I think Microsoft and Sony are playing it very, very, very close, and are just waiting until the absolute last minute to decide on a price point, not just to distance themselves from each other, but to make sure their consoles have any longevity based on what we're currently going.
I definitely can see where you're coming from. I feel like that with all this going on, definitely might kind of hinder certain systems and certain things coming out the way it's supposed to. But I definitely feel like people have been waiting for, speaking just on a PlayStation player predominantly, a lot of people have been waiting on the PlayStation 5, and I've been hearing a lot of people, especially with unemployment and everything going on, they've been having enough money, and I feel like they're still planning on buying one of the two systems. I don't see that it hindering it as much as maybe thought of earlier when the pandemic first came out, but I definitely feel like a lot of people are scrounging up all their ducats just for that system. So I don't personally believe it's going to put too much of a damper on the purchases of the system, but I can see that maybe as far as production wise, it might not be as many as first thought out to be.
I have to disagree. I agree with the production aspect, but I do think that it is not.
Maurice, appreciate you tuning in, bro.
I do believe that it's not something that is going to be taken as a priority. I know you'll have, of course, some video game diehards who are lucky enough to keep their jobs and save up, but that is definitely not the majority. That is the minority of it, and I'm fully anticipating I'm completely anticipating, at the worst case scenario, a complete delay of both of those consoles releases, to be quite honest with you.
Like a full delay.
Like if not a couple of months into early 2021, definitely it could possibly be summertime, which would be crazy to think about, but just based off of everything. We got
Sony, Microsoft, don't do me like that.
No,
don't do me like that.
What you mean?
I'm getting my PlayStation day one.
You saving your money. It's not.
Yeah, true, but I want my system holiday season.
Well, you better tell these folks to stay in their house.
Nah, what you said.
You better, we and us too. Let's not be holier than thou. We need to also be all of us watching needs to be in the mindset of staying in and going out unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Making
sure we're taking care of ourselves, wearing the face mask to both protect ourselves and potentially others and whatnot, so we can all hang out as soon as possible, like we were, and also try to be better about this in the future.
And that is our one obligated coronavirus PSA for the show.
Yes.
Thank you, QMG. But now back to what I was saying. I think the price is going to be roughly, I would say, with the PS5 and seeing the graphics and where it's headed, I would say, for me personally, what I'm willing to pay, I would say what I think and then what I'm willing to pay. What I'm willing to pay, I would pay maybe $650 for the PlayStation 5. Now, what I think, because of the stalemate they got going on with the systems and who's going to say the price first, which is unprecedented. I don't think we've ever had anything like this, long of a stalemate. Do you, QMG?
Not really.
Where we had anything this long of stalemate to see who's going to... Brandon, what's up, bro? Appreciate you tuning in. Where anybody just sitting there waiting for the other to say their price point before they say their price point because they're going to drop it $100. But I think $650 is what I'm willing to pay. But I think we might roughly get around a 5, maybe a high 5. Shell, appreciate you. Ro, appreciate you for tuning in. A high 5, I think, for the PlayStation. Now, for the Xbox, with the hardware being somewhat higher. Now, as far as the controller-wise, it's not as high, but I think they're going to go higher. I think there might be like $75 higher than the PlayStation 5. But what I'm willing to pay for the Xbox is also around 6. I'm not trying to go over 6. $650.
Yeah, that in any other scenario, I'd be saying that would be reasonable for the next generation. of consoles, because history shows that despite its launch price, every console has had their price drop sort of to something more affordable as time goes on. But considering the times we're in, depending on how certain states handle themselves for over the next couple of months, will dictate just how much it is done and just how much it's actually fixed. It's just so much stuff is up in the air, especially if more of these metropolitan states continue to stay closed or at least on lockdown. That is the bulk of that's the bulk of sales. You're not going to get as many sales for a PS5 or Xbox Series X in Wyoming in comparison to California.
Definitely.
So it's definitely. Tab asks, have you seen the gameplay for the PS5? And yes,
Unreal. I'll let you go ahead and start off.
The Unreal Engine. Well, I'm hesitant to call it gameplay because a lot of developers nowadays could think that they can play loose with the term gameplay.
Yeah.
Gameplay, essentially, for everyone who doesn't know, rather, is games that are demonstrated where it is played on the system that it's supposed to be released on in its base form. Like, it's a specific tech demo where someone is controlling the game with a controller,
and they push it to the limits of that little area.
They're just playing the game to showcasing the game for people to potentially buy it. Things like the recent Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer was called gameplay, but it wasn't. It was essentially cutscenes that were shot at different angles to make it look as interesting as possible. And there may have been some gameplay shots in it here and there, but ultimately it wasn't exactly anything that was just truly gameplay. It was more or less cutscenes you're going to see, but there's a tool in trailer making for video games called FreeCam, where they take the camera for the game and they position
D-Man, appreciate you for tuning in, bro.
What's up?
When you gonna get back on the game, bro?
They position it in ways that make a cutscene look much more dynamic than it actually is. Examples of games doing this is Call of Duty. Most fighting game trailers take an example of this to a certain degree. Those stand out. So the PS5 gameplay demo, it has been said to be a gameplay demo. It's not for any future game. It's just something to showcase the power of the PlayStation 5. And they're from the people who played it, not played it, but created it. Epic Games, and because it's their Unreal Engine 5.
Epic.
They said that there was something that was played on with a controller and shot and put out there for people to see. So I thought it looked I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked really good. And if that was truly gameplay, then that's like really phenomenal. Because a lot of that stuff would naturally be a cutscene or a quick time event where you're pressing a general button to give to either move the cutscene in one direction or not. But if that is technically gameplay, whereas if I were responsible for handling that, I could do it in a different way, take a different route of this vast area, that is something phenomenal.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Me personally, now that I in this generation, particularly in video games, I'm at another level. I'm more about how the system makes it more accessible and easier to play games, like the user interface. Brandon and Big Ellie, appreciate you for tuning in. How the user interface works better. Miss Yvonne, appreciate you for tuning in.
Thank y'all.
How it helps me as far as like the SSD, the load times. These sprawling open world games with no loading. You hop into the open world, you can see as far as your eye can see. I'm definitely more akin to that, but with these new graphics, the smaller details really matter to me. As far as like the polygon count, making stuff look more realistic, the light shading, how the light bounces off different objects. I definitely am very more akin to seeing how that works, because we're at a pretty high point in virtual reality, in the virtual graphics, the CGI base, where everything is starting to look very realistic. So for huge leaps and bounds, we're not going to get that, I don't think, in every video game. So it's just the little things right now I'm looking for. As far as the PS5's Unreal Engine playtest, I thought it was really well. I liked all of the rocks, how the rocks really formed like really geometric shapes. The light bouncing off were really cool, but you can only put that with such a grain of salt because, like we said before, that was just a laid out map. They put everything they had into that one little section, and you really can't judge that and how other games will be coming out just off that one tech demo. So you can put it with a grain of salt. I liked it. I also watched the Assassin's Creed Valhalla trailer. Like Death Stranding, definitely. But yeah, so just like the Assassin's Creed, they've been known for doing that, though, putting a lot of time. Jelani, appreciate you for tuning in, saying that it's gameplay, and then when we get the game, one of the biggest ones, Watch Dogs. They said that this was gameplay, and they had all the bells and whistles attached. Big Vino, appreciate you tuning in. All the bells and whistles, and then when we got the game, it was drastically cut short on what they had promised as far as the engine running, how it would be graphically, and stuff like that. So all we can do is have our opinions and try to just make educated opinions off of how everything's gone. But as far as, I liked it. I thought it looked good, and hopefully all these other games will follow in suit with that type of graphical fidelity.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very much a crapshoot right now about all of this stuff, and gameplay included with that. I was watching one video where it was being broken down, not just the Unreal Engine 5 trailer, but how it compared to other examples of showing new engines for the next generation, quote unquote, whether it was for the PS3 era and then the PS4 era. And basically what they were surmising was that, yes, the tech demo of each generation had a distinct thing they wanted to showcase. With the PS3 stuff, they wanted to show just how high quality the graphics could be and how much more realistic and dynamic. With the PS4 era, it was about light particles and how explosions and lightning and stuff of that nature could be implemented into a game at a higher rate and at a larger field. And with this generation, like I previously said, it's all about range and how much you can fit into a given game without loading or anything like that. And it is just, that is what it is. And and this engine was showing that off perfectly, but as he also pointed out, it's something that has to be understood that while it might be something now, as the generation goes on, it'll be optimized, it'll be expanded upon, it'll be improved upon, and it'll be that. That's all that's really to be expected so far. There's nothing really out of the ordinary or something that wasn't, assumed that has happened with this generation of consoles.
And D-Man said that's why Watch Dogs 3 should be way better. Well, Watch Dogs 3 is in development hell right now. We don't even know if that junk gonna come out. So
yeah, no, it's not. It's just it probably would have been launched out of the PS5, but with everything that's going on, a lot of games that were in development, they probably had to, get a hit. Not necessarily a development hell where there is no foreseeable release date. It probably is just something that they had planned to probably showcase had the world been in its previous state. But with everything that's going on, it probably is just hopefully being more refined. I definitely wouldn't say it's a development hell because it was just announced last year.
Yeah. So. Well, you would think with all that they said it would be coming out. But to the next one. So now that we talked about the price point, we'll just go ahead and dive straight into it. QMG, I know we talked about this off camera, but on camera, who do you think will have the best life cycle between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5?
I believe it will be, I personally, as it stands right now at this moment, I think it could very well be the Series X. Xbox has seemingly learned all of its lessons from, its hard lessons from the Xbox One release and its launch. And it seems to be they're taking all of the positives that they created and completely destroying all of the negatives that were created as well. With things such as, if you own the game on your Xbox One, you can own it on your Xbox Series X, which is a fantastic business strategy that I would be absolutely shocked if Sony does not also incorporate. Not just simple backwards compatibility. That's not what This is something
as far as digital download.
No, it's physical too.
Physical as well?
Yes. It's
like, would you be able to download it onto your Xbox Series X and still have the physical copy?
From my understanding, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
If you buy it on the Xbox Series X, for the Xbox Series X, I mean Xbox One or One X or whichever one of those generations, which is the same. So if you buy it from your Xbox One, you will also own it for the Series X.
But see, what I was getting at was that's potentially game breaking because of the simple fact, say I do own the physical copy and I download it to my Xbox One X, I could take that to GameStop and get money for it. You feel what I'm saying?
But that's not. But for one, GameStop GameStop is over exaggerated at this point. GameStop is most GameStops in video games, brick and mortar stores are well, depending on how you view it, is going the way of the dodo. That is period. Whether you believe that's a good or bad thing is up to if you believe in keeping physical media or not. But in general, GameStop is not more than likely won't survive the next 5 years. We'll probably live in a world where most video games will be digital, or if they are being sold physical, it'll more or less be through Amazon, sold through Amazon, or the specific, or just buying it directly from Nintendo, Sony.
I somewhat agree. I'm just speaking on the present. If I buy a physical disc for an Xbox One, and then I go trade it in, but I've already stored it on my Xbox, that could be detrimental to Xbox Series X sales. Not the system, but I'm talking about as far as games. Because now you're not having to buy those games or you're actually giving to GameStop a certain demographic of money that you would have to rebuy. It's like when you have like all these PlayStation 4 games that come out PlayStation 3 games that came out for PlayStation 4. It's almost eliminating PlayStation Now or Xbox Game Pass, because the reason you have those, not just for the Xbox catalog, but Xbox 360 catalog in general, you don't have the access to those games or those systems, so you have to go and play those streaming services or downloadable streaming services to get those games. But now that you can just take the game, save the game onto your Xbox Series X, and sell it.
No, I think you're missing a key component in that analysis, in that you're assuming that it's just going to be every game released, because there's going to be specific Xbox Series X specific games, and I believe in those games specifically are going to be not something they're either their first party or can't miss titles. They're not going to be. I believe that this is more so for the games of this generation. Your Call of Duty Modern Warfare, your Assassin's Creed Valhalla, your quote unquote multi-platform, multi-generational, I should say, cross-generational. That's the term. Your cross-generational video.
Okay,
games.
so not every potential Xbox One game.
Well, I mean, because I can we can make the accurate assumption that there's going to be less and less Xbox One games that are cross-generational with the Series X outside of the initial launch year. That's how long most of these systems keep having their cross-generational. And as we know, now that the games are focusing more on speeding up the game, trying to develop for a previous generation, SKU, a unit. That's the technical term for it. Developing for a unit that has longer load times and one that has faster load times, that might present a problem. So I can imagine that they're like, for the lesser, like the harder to develop, the easier to develop games, I should say, they're going to be the ones you can buy or you're presumably already own for your Xbox One. And then if you do that, then you can just go, okay, I bought it for my Xbox One, then I have it for my Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and you're gonna get the higher graphical fidelity, your shorter load times, and everything else. And then you brought the Game Pass and potentially PS Now, because we don't know exactly Sony's stance on this. Those are still viable, more or less. Less PS Now, because that isn't something that's generally used by the majority of PlayStation owners.
Yeah, but it's definitely good.
But Sony, you gotta look at it from how Sony's looking at it. They're looking at it big picture on what is actually being used versus of what it might be high quality, but not everybody might not like it. But with the Game Pass specifically, that is the games are on a time run on the Game Pass. The games that not every game on the Game Pass is going to be there forever. Sometimes they leave Game Pass, so you're going to miss your boat on getting those games. And even then, not everybody, like I said, not everybody cares about physical discs or have the space to do that or have the consistent monetary, can consistently buy $60 games. So the Game Pass, you have the Game Pass. When a game comes out, and if it's on Game Pass, you automatically have it. You don't have to pay no extra money for it. So that that doesn't apply to you unless it's a game you absolutely want to have physically forever, and you just go out and buy it. And even then, 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy it directly for that system. If, like I said, you already don't previously own it.
Well, back to the question at hand. My stance is I definitely think the momentum of the PlayStation 4 is a lot heftier than a lot of people realize. And even though the Xbox has learned from its mistakes, not saying the Xbox Series X isn't going to be an amazing system, but I feel like just the momentum and the sour taste left in the mouth by Microsoft is definitely shaping it up for the PlayStation 5 to be the better system, well, more sold system of this generation. Not better, but more sold. I just think that the taste that was left in the mouth by Xbox Microsoft is really, really still relevant to this day, even with those Xbox One X coming out, and more of a gaming catalog as well as the Game Pass and a lot of damage control they did. But I still feel like the PlayStation 5 will outsell it just from the momentum. Me personally, that's the major factor. We had also a lot of the little niche things that the PlayStation 5 is doing. A lot of people are really taking very well. I haven't really seen a lot of anything ill-willed said about the PlayStation 5 as of now. We haven't had a look at the console yet. Appreciate you tuning in, Uncle Ellis. We haven't had a look at the console yet, but it's just off of the DualSense, the original DualSense. A lot of people are liking it. A lot of people are ready for the gaming catalog that's coming out. And I just think it has a lot of real momentum going into this console season. And I will be not shocked, but I will be a little taken back if at release the Xbox One Series X outsells the PlayStation 5. Now, moving on, just from right now, seeing who do you think will have the best catalog, and who will you think, just to round it off, who do you think will have the best longevity going into these next console, if we even have another console generation?
Well, I can't necessarily.
And hold on, just before I sorry to cut you off, but yeah, you guys give us a thought. Well, who do you think will have the better life cycle, the PS5 or the Xbox Series X? And what are you guys gonna buy? What are you geeks and gamers gonna purchase when holiday season, if it comes out, holiday season round off Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5? That's you, son.
I really can't speak to longevity because that's the hardest to predict in a video game console's lifespan, because with examples like the Sega Saturn, the Dreamcast, and the Wii U.
Why you say two? You said two Sega consoles. That's messed up.
I mean, that's what it is historically. But no, when you have those things when you have game consoles that might be great on a technical level and have great games, any small thing can come around and stop its momentum or prevent it from coming up out of a snafu. And it's hard to speak on longevity because, again, we're in it's crazy times, so that can be an affecting point. The price can be an affecting point. Ultimately, we don't know anything outside, with the exception of the Series X, and we do know, at the very least, Halo and Senua are the guaranteed launch titles for the Series X, unless that changes, of course. Those are the ones guaranteed. As far as the PS5 goes, we can guess that Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us Part 2 might be launch titles, but in comparison to Senua or Halo, or the new Halo game, those are going to be...
Hunter, appreciate you tuning in, broski.
Those are going to be more or less re-releases, because at that point of the release, both the games would have been out for at least 5 months on the previous generation, whereas Senua and Halo will be launching primarily, if not exclusively, on the Xbox Series X, and more or less designed specifically for that. So that might be a tipping point, as well as the third party releases. But I like like it is third party releases that are coming out. We can assume, but nothing concrete in terms. Tony Hawk Pro Skater Remaster.
Just a small tangent. Are you excited about the remakes? For whoever doesn't know, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 just got announced for full remakes.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 are personally my two favorite Tony Hawk games, which I know might sound cliche because those are the original two.
I gotta rock with Skate 3. I think Skate 3 is my favorite of all time.
I'm talking about Tony
Hawk. I have the Tony Hawks, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's those are my two favorites just because those are the ones I've played the most, and I love Tony Hawk Underground and American Wasteland.
Yeah,
but I just feel like just the simplicity. You can't go wrong with the simplistic nature of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and I'm ecstatic that they got the licensings to the original soundtrack because when Activision tried to get away with that BS re-release back in 2016, they just completely screwed the pooch with that. But yeah, that's something that is very much so something I'm looking forward to. But
appreciate it, Uncle Ellis. Appreciate you for tuning in.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely something I'm very much looking forward to. But I cannot recall if it's going to be on the PS5 or Xbox Series 1. I don't know Series X. I don't know if they are going to do that via launch title or if they're going to wait. But I know it's certainly going to be coming to the PS4 and Xbox and the Xbox Series X.
Well,
Xbox One.
Well, I definitely agree. I definitely think it's hard to dictate the longevity of both systems. Anything can go on with these systems. They can have game-breaking bugs in them that are unrepairable and so on and so forth. But I just think that we're getting really, 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 really close to upgradable systems that no longer have a life cycle. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like we're getting to a point where now the only problem with them ultimately being upgradable is that certain systems will be higher than others. But we see this anyway as far as the PS4 Pro and the PS4 regular. You can still play with other PS4 users.
I feel like that we're not like it. I feel like now just looking at how clear of a picture game developers and the system makers want to take the console, I feel like now it is the point where it's not going to be necessarily upgradable consoles. It's just memory at this point. That's the only upgradable aspect of it.
Definitely.
It's not truly going to be anything fidelity wise. And if these consoles are to be as powerful as assumed, then most of these consoles are going to be able to run 60 frames per second on most of these games built into the console. It's just that it's up to the developers to optimize it to do so. So I don't feel like it's going to be, unless it's from a pure money-making standpoint from the publishers, Sony and Microsoft. But if, taking that part out of the equation, I don't even feel like it's going, unless it's just some major technological advancement that A has been discovered and B something that wants to be pushed in the video game sphere. I feel like it's going. The PS5 and Xbox Series X, if it's handled correctly, could be the quote unquote last traditional console.
Yeah.
If in my opinion, they handle it correctly. With the only thing that needs to be updated is the
SSD.
Yes, the SSD, the memory, and how,
Yeah. Well, me personally, I'm going to be having a PlayStation 5 day one. QMG, are you going to have the Xbox Series X or PlayStation 1 day one, or are you going to wait for either one of them for a later date? What will you be doing?
I will be doing what's best for me at the given moment. I can't even put that into a plan right now. I feel like most likely, it's again not to get serious or anything, but there's just a lot of other things that are taking priority in my headspace as far as monetary and just things of that nature. So while ideally I would want to have it day one.
Which one?
It wouldn't matter. Whichever one has a game. Personally, if I don't have to buy as much as I'd be down to buy Final Fantasy VII Remake again, the faster I can play Final Fantasy VII Remake on a console, in a better in which in Final Fantasy VII Remake looks gorgeous.
I was just gonna say I thought it was pretty beautiful.
But there are
JB, what it do?
But there are certain technical things that can be improved. Some textures problems, not problems, but certain texture things that the PS5 will definitely theoretically will alleviate. But and as far as other content that may or may not be added onto the PS5 release of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but if the PS5 allows me to play a even better version of a game I consider to be my favorite of all time sooner, then it'll be the PS5. But if not, then it'll be if that is not.
Yes, Final Fantasy VII is fire.
If there isn't no clear cut, if that's not the ultra specific thing that happens, and it's just here's these games, and then they got these exclusives and these exclusives, then at that point it'll be whichever theoretical exclusives pique my interest the most. So
yeah, I'm definitely I'm leaning highly towards the PlayStation 5. In a perfect scenario, I'll be able to get both at the same time day one, but definitely I'm definitely gonna get the PlayStation 5. That's pretty much set in stone unless the PlayStation 5 comes out and say we don't like black people or something. I'm gonna be getting the PlayStation 5. But other than that, you know how we gotta do. You know we gotta thug it on out. This was Into the Q-Universe.
Right, we ain't got no shout-outs.
What? Oh, you got shout out?
Every week, you know.
Oh, my fault. Shout your people. Shout your people out.
You got stuff you could be shouting
out.
Shout your people out. You just want to jump straight into like.
Shout your people out.
JB just got here too, and you just gonna be like,
shout your people. He know what time we start. Shout your peoples out, man. My fault.
It's not just mine. It's
all my geeks and gamers know what's up.
As always, y'all, you know we appreciate y'all for coming out and supporting us per usual. And you know, shout outs to all y'all who watch it. Shout outs to everybody who goes to the YouTube channel and watches our content, who watches Q when he goes onto Facebook and streams there. As always, shout outs to my Worlds of DC fam, Worlds of DC podcast. We will be recording this week with a brand new mega episode, our movie madness, and that's all I'm going to say about that. So but best believe it will be another banger for y'all. It's available on Spotify and Apple Music, so you feel free to listen to our episodes that we put a lot of hard work and effort into. Shout outs to Haley, Mike, Tab, Aaron, Jamari, Key,
Laramie, appreciate you tuning in, bro.
Not Laramie, you just threw off
my fault. Sorry, he came up on. Go ahead,
shout outs to Mikey, Mike, Tab, Jamari, Haley, Key, and Aaron.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Oh, sorry. Yeah, how you did it was like new edition. My fault, bro. Go ahead, do your thing.
Shout outs to all of y'all. And Q, what you got to plug shout outs?
Well, since you insist, shout out to all my geeks and gamers out there in the geeky gaming universe. Larry, appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate it, bro. Big Corey, cousin Corey, appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you all for your support. We're going to keep bringing you guys great content. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, on both Facebook pages, my personal Facebook page, as well as the Geeked Up Media Facebook page. And you guys just keep tuning in. But with that being said, QMG, do you have anything else you need to say before we go ahead and tune it on out?
No, you most certainly can thug it out now. Since you
there we go.
Yeah, because you just be quick to just thug it out. Just
JB Into the Q-Universe, you already know how we do. It's GQ Smooth, and we always on our P's and Q's. Thank you guys for tuning in, my geeks and gamers. But with that being said, we signing out. This was Into the Q-Universe. Peace.
Yes, sir. And next week, I'll make sure Q does not try to wrap it up without giving all the shout outs.
You're right.